Life has a funny way of throwing you curveballs when you least expect it. I'm Andrea, a PR manager who spent more time in boardrooms than in the dating scene. At 35, my life was a testament to hard work and late nights, not romantic dinners or weekend getaways. But then Michael walked into my life, or more accurately, into my project meeting. Michael was the kind of guy you noticed the moment he entered a room, not because he tried to be the center of attention, but because of his quiet confidence. He was representing our new client, and from our first handshake, I felt a spark that was hard to ignore. We spent weeks working closely, and I found myself looking forward to our meetings more for the chance to chat with him than the actual work. It was crazy. Here I was, a woman who prided herself on her independence, getting butterflies over a business partner. One evening, as we were wrapping up, I made a spur-of-the-moment decision. "Hey, Michael, fancy grabbing dinner?" My treat. We can celebrate the project's progress. It was a lame excuse, but it was all I could come up with. Michael raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on his lips. "Dinner, huh? Sure, why not? But let's make it fair, my treat next time." Dinner was a mix of work talk and personal stories. It was easy, comfortable. As the night drew to a close, I knew I didn't want this to be just another work dinner. Gathering all my courage, I blurted out, "Michael, I'm going to be straight with you. I like you. More than just a business partner." There was a moment of silence. Michael looked surprised, then thoughtful. "Andrea, I'm not sure what to say. I like you too, but I've got some baggage. My ex-wife, Laura, let's just say she left a mark. I'm not sure I'm ready to jump into something new." His honesty caught me off guard. "Look, I get it. I'm not asking for a fairy tale here. How about we just see where things go? No pressure." Michael nodded. "All right, Andrea. Let's take it slow." That dinner marked the beginning of something special. We continued to meet, first under the guise of work, then openly as something more. It was refreshing, being with someone who understood the demands of a career yet made time for the little moments. One evening, as we were walking back to our cars after a spontaneous movie date, Michael stopped and looked at me. "Andrea, these past few months have been amazing. I didn't think I could feel this way again after Laura. I want this, us." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "Me too, Michael. I'm all in." Building a life with Michael felt like we were laying bricks for a foundation that was meant to last. After the initial awkwardness of transitioning from work partners to life partners, we found our rhythm. We moved into my place, a cozy 2-bedroom house that now felt more like a home with Michael's stuff scattered around. One lazy Sunday morning, as we sat with our coffees in the living room, Michael looked around and let out a content sigh. "You know, Andrea, I never thought I'd feel at home so quickly anywhere after, well, you know." I grinned, nudging him with my foot. "Yeah, I know. But hey, look at us now. Making a home out of a house filled with nothing but work files and takeout menus." He chuckled, picking up a stray sock from the floor. "Speaking of which, we really need to work on our domestic skills. I can't even remember the last time we cooked." "Hey, speak for yourself." "I make a mean cereal," I shot back, laughing. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. Balancing our demanding jobs with our personal life was a juggling act. We'd often find ourselves working late, only to come home to each other, sometimes too exhausted to even talk. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, I flopped down next to Michael on the couch, burying my face in the cushions. "I'm beat. If I see one more email, I'm going to scream." Michael, laptop still open on his lap, glanced at me and closed it with a snap. "That's it. We're taking a break this weekend. No work, no emails. Just you, me, and maybe a little adventure." I lifted my head, intrigued. "An adventure, huh? What did you have in mind?" He wiggled his eyebrows. "How about a road trip? Just hit the road and see where we end up." The idea of just driving off with no particular destination sounded perfect. I'm in. But let's make one rule, no talking about work. Deal? Deal, he agreed, and we shook on it. That weekend, we did just that. We drove to a small beach town a few hours away, spending our days exploring and our nights in a quaint bed and breakfast. It was refreshing, being away from the hustle of our daily lives, reminding us of the simple pleasures we often overlooked. Back home, as we settled into our routine again, it was clear that the little getaway had recharged us. Our conversations shifted from deadlines and meetings to plans for the future, our future. One evening, as we were cleaning up after a rare attempt at cooking dinner together, Michael turned to me, a serious look on his face. Andrea, I've been thinking. We've been doing great, you know, building a life together. I want to make it official. I froze, a soapy dish in hand. Official? You mean, like? Yeah, like marriage. I want you to be my wife, Andrea. I know it's sudden, but I've never been sure about anything. The dish almost slipped from my hands. Michael, are you serious? As a heart attack, he said, his eyes locking with mine. I put the dish down, water and soap suds forgotten, and walked over to him. Yes, I'll marry you. Life with Michael was like a dream until Laura, his ex-wife, decided she wasn't done with him yet. At first, her calls were rare, a nuisance we brushed off. But then, they picked up frequency, each one more demanding than the last. One evening, while Michael and I were trying to enjoy a quiet night in, his phone rang. The caller ID flashed Laura's name, and he sighed heavily before answering. Laura, what is it now? I could only hear his side of the conversation, but his furrowed brow told me it was the same old song and dance. After he hung up, he tossed his phone on the couch, frustration written all over his face. She needs help moving some stuff this weekend. Can you believe that? I frowned, my patience wearing thin. Michael, why does she always turn to you for help? She's got friends, hasn't she? He shrugged, a helpless look in his eyes. I don't know, Andrea. I guess old habits die hard? This wasn't just about old habits, though. Laura's calls became more personal, and she even started reaching out to me, offering unsolicited advice on how to keep Michael happy. The first time she called, I was taken aback. Andrea, it's Laura. I just thought I'd give you a heads up. Michael loves his steak medium rare, not medium. And he hates peas. Thought you should know. I was seething, but I kept my cool. Thanks, Laura. I'll keep that in mind, I said through gritted teeth, before hanging up. It was clear Laura was playing games, trying to wedge herself between us. Her audacity peaked when she started inviting Michael over for dinner for old time's sake. That was the last straw for me. One night, after another one of Laura's invitations, I confronted Michael. This has to stop, Michael. It's us now, not you and her. Why can't she respect that? Michael ran his hands through his hair, looking exhausted. I know. It's just, complicated. Complicated? What's so complicated about telling your ex-wife to back off? He didn't have an answer, and the silence between us grew heavy. It was clear we needed to address the Laura situation head-on if we were going to move forward. The next time Laura called, I answered Michael's phone. Laura, listen. You need to stop calling. Michael is with me now. You had your chance, and you blew it. There was a pause on the other end before Laura's voice came through, sharp as a knife. Oh, I see. So you're answering his phone now? You think you've won him over? This isn't over, honey. I clenched my teeth, anger boiling inside me. No, Laura. It is over. You need to move on and let us live our lives. We hung up, but the damage was done. Laura's intrusions had cast a shadow over our relationship, stirring doubts and insecurities we'd worked hard to overcome. It was a chilly Thursday evening when Laura's latest stunt unfolded. She called Michael, her voice shaky, claiming she was in dire need of help, something about a leaking pipe in her house. Michael looked at me, phone still pressed to his ear, uncertainty in his eyes. She says it's an emergency, Andrea. I feel like we should go, but I want us to handle this together. Are you okay with that? I was tired of her games, but I nodded. Let's do this. But we're setting boundaries today, Michael. This ends now. Armed with a resolve to end Laura's manipulations, we drove to her place. The air between us was tense, a mix of anxiety and determination. As we approached her front door, I could feel my heart pounding. Michael rang the bell, and we waited. The door swung open, and there stood Laura. She wore a revealing outfit and held a glass of wine, a stark contrast to the emergency she had described. Michael's face went from concern to furious in a second. Laura, what the hell is this? You said it was an emergency. Laura's confident demeanor faltered as she looked from Michael to me, her plan unraveling. I thought we could talk, Michael. Just the two of us. I didn't expect you to bring her. I stepped forward, my patience worn thin. Enough, Laura. Your little games end now. We're not doing this anymore. Michael is with me. You need to respect that and move on. Laura's eyes flashed with anger. Move on? How can I move on when you've taken everything from me? Michael was my husband, and you. Michael interrupted, his voice firm. I was your husband, Laura. Past tense. And I left because of your actions, not Andrea's. You need to accept that and stop this nonsense. The ride home was quiet, a time for reflection on the events that had unfolded. When we finally spoke, it was with a sense of relief and a renewed commitment to our relationship. Michael, we can't let anyone or anything come between us again. We need to be a team, always. He nodded, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. You're right, Andrea. I promise, from now on, it's you and me against the world. No more ex-wife drama. Despite the steps we took to protect ourselves, Laura's vendetta against us escalated to a public spectacle that neither Michael nor I could have anticipated. It happened on a night that was supposed to be a celebration of a significant milestone in my career. We were at a downtown restaurant, surrounded by colleagues and friends, the mood light and festive. As we raised our glasses for a toast, the sound of the restaurant door slamming open turned every head in the room. Laura stormed in, her eyes wild with anger, zeroing in on Michael and me. Without hesitation, she began yelling, her voice cutting through the chatter of the room like a knife. Michael, how could you do this to me? And you, she spat, turning her venomous gaze towards me, you homewrecker. The room fell silent, all eyes on us. I felt my face flush with a mix of embarrassment and rage. Michael stood up, his body tense. Laura, get out of here. You're making a scene over nothing. It's over between us, and it's time you accepted that. But Laura wasn't deterred. She continued, her words laced with bitterness. You think you can just replace me? I was his wife. And you, she hissed, pointing a finger at me. You're nothing but a thief. I stood up, my patience exhausted. Laura, enough. You've crossed a line. We've done nothing wrong. You need to leave, now, before we call the police. Her laughter was cold and mocking. Call the police? For what? Telling the truth? Everyone here should know what kind of people you really are. The tension in the air was palpable. My colleagues and friends looked on, some in shock, others with looks of sympathy. It was a humiliating situation, being accused and insulted in front of everyone important to me. Seeing that his words had no effect, Michael grabbed his phone. That's it. I'm calling them. You've gone too far, Laura. As he dialed, Laura seemed to realize the seriousness of the situation. Her defiance wavered for a moment, but then she turned on her heel and stormed out, leaving a trail of shocked silence in her wake. The aftermath of her outburst was a mixture of awkward apologies and whispered conversations. I tried to smooth over the disruption, but the evening was ruined. As we drove home, the weight of the public humiliation settled heavily on my shoulders. "Michael, I can't believe she did that. In front of everyone." My voice was thick with unshed tears. Michael reached over, squeezing my hand. "Andrea, I'm so sorry. I never wanted any of this to affect you like it has. We'll get through this, I promise. Laura's actions tonight, they've crossed a line. We'll make sure she can't do anything like this again." His words were meant to comfort, but the reality was hard to bear. Laura's relentless pursuit to disrupt our lives had reached a new low, and the thought of what she might do next was a constant shadow over our happiness. After the confrontation with Laura, Michael and I thought we had finally put an end to her meddling. Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, and for a brief moment, we allowed ourselves to believe that the drama was behind us. However, Laura wasn't done yet, and the next phase of her vendetta against us was about to unfold in a way we never anticipated. It started one morning as I was heading out to work. I found my car covered in what looked like eggs and flour. It was a mess, and the stench was unbearable. Furious, I stormed back inside to grab Michael. "Michael, you won't believe this. Come look at what's been done to my car," I shouted, my voice shaking with rage. He followed me outside, and the look on his face when he saw the car mirrored my own anger. "What the? Who would do this?" "We both know who's behind this," I said, barely containing my fury. "It's Laura. She's escalating things because we stood up to her." Michael ran his hands through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "This is getting out of hand, Andrea. I'm going to call her right now and put an end to this." "No, Michael. Calling her won't solve anything. She wants to provoke us. We need to think this through and not play into her hands," I countered, trying to think clearly despite the anger boiling inside me. Reluctantly, Michael agreed, and we decided to take the car to get cleaned, hoping that would be the end of it. But deep down, we both knew it was just the beginning. A few days later, things took a turn for the worse. I started receiving anonymous, threatening letters at work, each one more disturbing than the last. I showed them to Michael, my hands trembling as I handed them over. "Look at these, Michael. They're getting sent to my office now. This is serious. We can't just ignore it." Michael's face darkened as he read through the letters. "This is harassment. We need to go to the police. She's not just trying to scare us anymore, she's threatening your safety." The trip to the police station was a blur. We filed a report, but without concrete proof that Laura was behind the letters, there wasn't much they could do. Feeling helpless and frustrated, we returned home, trying to come up with a plan. That night, we sat in silence, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. Michael finally broke the silence, his voice low and determined. "Andrea, I won't let her hurt you. We'll install security cameras around the house. If she tries anything else, we'll have it on record." The installation of the security cameras felt like a small victory, but the sense of security it brought was fleeting. Laura's next move was something we hadn't anticipated, and it hit closer to home than any of us could have imagined. It was a regular weekday when Michael received a call at work from our neighbor, informing us that someone had been lurking around our house. My heart sank as I listened to Michael relay the message. "Andrea, our neighbor just called. Someone's been seen snooping around our house. I'm coming home now. We need to check the footage from the cameras." The rest of the day passed in a haze of worry and fear. When Michael arrived home, we reviewed the footage together, and there she was, Laura, unmistakable in her defiance, caught on camera trespassing on our property. Seeing her there, invading our private space, was the last straw. "That's it, Michael. We have proof now. We're taking this to the police, and we're pressing charges." Michael nodded, his jaw set in determination. "You're right. It ends now. She's gone too far." Our trip back to the police station, this time armed with evidence, marked the turning point in our battle against Laura. We were no longer just defending ourselves, we were taking the fight to her, ready to do whatever it took to reclaim our peace and security. After months of chaos, it all came crashing down for Laura. The day we learned about her gambling debts and her twisted plan to drag us into her mess was the day the tables turned. Michael and I were at the police station, a place that had become all too familiar, when the detective called us into his office. "Sit down, folks. We've got some news about Laura," he began, shuffling papers on his desk. "Turns out, she's knee-deep in debt. Banks are on her tail, and she's been hitting the casinos hard." Michael's expression hardened. "So, what? She thought she could shake us down to cover her losses?" "Looks like it," the detective replied. "She admitted to wanting to get back at you, Michael. Plan A was to win you back. When that tanked, she switched gears to Plan B, make your life hell, hoping you'd pay up to make it stop." I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. And she thought this would work? That we'd just hand over cash to get rid of her? The detective leaned back in his chair. "Desperation makes people do crazy things. But we've got her confession, and we're pressing charges. Harassment, threats, attempted blackmail. She's looking at a hefty fine, at the very least." The court day was something out of a movie. Laura, looking defeated, her lawyer whispering last-minute advice. Michael and I, standing firm, ready to see this through. When it was our turn to speak, Michael laid it all out, the stress, the fear, the constant looking over our shoulders. She tried to tear us apart, to use our past against us. But we're not her ATM. We're not fixing her mess. The judge nodded, scribbling notes. When Laura tried to play the sympathy card, the judge wasn't having it. "You exploited personal relationships for financial gain, Miss Stewart. Your actions have consequences." In the end, the gavel came down hard. After reviewing the evidence and hearing both sides, it's clear that Ms. Stewart has engaged in a pattern of harassment against Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Such behavior cannot be tolerated. Laura's face paled as the judge continued. "Ms. Stewart, you are hereby ordered to cease all contact with Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Any violation of this order will result in immediate arrest. Furthermore, you are to pay restitution for the damages caused, including the emotional distress inflicted." As the judge pronounced the verdict, a wave of relief washed over me. Michael squeezed my hand, a silent acknowledgement of our hard-fought victory. With the legal battles behind us and Laura no longer a shadow over our lives, Michael and I could finally breathe easy. Our home, once a battleground of stress and tension, was now filled with laughter and plans for the future. One evening, as we were curled up on the sofa with some old movie playing in the background, Michael turned to me, a soft smile on his lips. "You know, Andrea, I've been thinking a lot about us lately. About everything we've been through." I nestled closer, intrigued. "Oh yeah? And what have you concluded from all that thinking?" He chuckled, his arm tightening around me. "That we're pretty damn unstoppable together. We've weathered a storm that would have sunk most ships. Makes me think we can handle just about anything life throws at us." I couldn't help but smile at his analogy. I like the sound of that. "So, Captain, where do we sail next on this unstoppable journey of ours?" Michael's gaze turned thoughtful, his eyes locking with mine. "Well, First Mate Andrea, I was thinking, maybe it's time we expand the crew?" It took me a second to catch his drift, but when I did, my heart skipped a beat. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "If you think I'm saying we should start trying for a baby, then yes, you're spot on," he said, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and a hint of nervousness. The idea of starting a family had crossed my mind more than once, especially in the quiet moments when I'd daydream about our future. "Michael, that's the best idea you've ever had. I'm all in." As the weeks turned into months, our excitement only grew. We started preparing in earnest, turning one of the spare rooms into a nursery, reading every parenting book we could get our hands on, and imagining our lives with a little one in tow. One day, as I was painting a mural on the nursery wall, Michael came in, a mock stern look on his face. I leave you alone for 1 hour, and you turn into Picasso. Should I be worried? I stepped back, admiring my handiwork. Only if you don't like elephants. But seriously, Michael, can you believe this? We're really doing this. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. I can. It feels right, Andrea. Like this is exactly where we're supposed to be. And it did. Despite the roller coaster of emotions, the fears, and the excitement, it felt like we were right on track. Our journey had been anything but ordinary, but then again, we were anything but an ordinary couple.